So Catherine Cole is professor at the Department of Theater, Dance, and Performance Studies. Many of you are aware of the letter that she wrote to her students that is circulated around the campus. The title of her talk, "Are UC Cuts Inevitable? No Condition is Permanent." Catherine.
That I stand before you here tonight is a miracle. 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with a rare, aggressive cancer in my thigh. Had I been diagnosed in 1989, I would surely be dead by now. At that time, the only treatment for sarcomas was amputation, and even then, most patients died. Fortunately, there were tremendous medical advances in just 10 years. Fortunately, I found well-trained doctors, even in a relatively small California city, who made astute decisions during the course of my diagnosis and treatment. They made critical judgment calls about referrals and diagnosis. They knew that they should not attempt a biopsy locally, but rather refer me to a major research university. At the UCLA Medical Center where I was referred, I was treated by leading oncologists, doctors and professors who were fully apprised of current research and also were actively engaged in advancing knowledge and creating new treatment options. Despite all their best efforts, I did eventually lose my entire left leg in a protracted 2-year battle. But far more importantly, these doctors saved my life. Even though I was told that people with high-level amputations, such as mine, cannot use a functional prosthetic, I am now able to walk and travel freely around the world doing my research by using a sophisticated prosthetic device, a device created through research innovation. As I reflect back on the labyrinth of doctors who treated me, they share a common background. All were educated, did their residencies, or now work at research universities. In fact, the most common denominator among them is the University of California. That I stand before you here tonight is a miracle. It's a testament to the miracle of the University of California and the contributions it makes to the people of the state of California, our nation, and the world. Today, the future of that miracle is endangered. Skyrocketing student fees, faculty and staff pay reductions, layoffs, and program closures are some of the legible indications of this erosion. But the full dimensions of what is happening are not yet visible, at least not to students. It is for this reason that faculty and staff working in solidarity with students have set aside tomorrow, September 24th, as a day of action in the whole UC system. The goal of the walkout is to make visible to all the members of our campus and to the people of the state of California what is at stake for the state and indeed the nation if we allow the collapse of public education in California. We also want to make visible the way in which our current UC administration is dismantling the very things that have made the UC the best public university in the country. It takes decades to build up a public research university of this caliber. It will take only 1 year or two to seriously erode this institution, which has for 140 years been an engine of California's economy. It is not too late to intervene. There are nearly 250,000 students in the UC system, 500,000 in the Cal State system, thousands more in community colleges, and 6 million students in the K through 12 levels. What would happen if your generation mobilized on behalf of public education in the state of California? As we saw during our last presidential election, your generation has vast powers of mobilization via the internet, Twitter, Facebook, email, chat rooms, and your cell phones, powers that far surpass that of any generation before you. You can make a difference, and faculty and staff are committed to working side by side with you. You will be at the forefront of this movement. We will be your guides. Students, you will face in your futures more complex and rapidly changing circumstances than perhaps any generation before you. You will have to think outside the box. You will need not only to understand existing paradigms, you will also need to invent new ones. You will need not only to possess advanced critical thinking skills so that you can cut to the heart of complex problems that are even seemingly intractable, and you will also need imagination to find viable and effective solutions. It is precisely for such challenges that the University of California prepares its students. We prepare you for these challenges because we are a public research university. We prepare you by teaching our research, which is at the cutting edge of knowledge. How many universities have their very own additions to the periodic table of the elements, as we do? Laurentium and Berkeley. The U.S. has a whole spectrum of types of higher education, ranging from community colleges and state schools to liberal arts colleges and public and private universities. The Carnegie Foundation classifies the University of California at the furthest edge of the spectrum as a research university with very high research productivity. This means that the faculty who teach your classes do the things that you are going to need to do for your future. We create new knowledge and find original solutions to complex problems. We don't just recycle old ideas in the classroom, we actively participate in making new knowledge. And we do so with you, our students, as both our first audience and our collaborators. And yet, Berkeley's status as a research university is under threat. Our reputation is based on the research prowess of its faculty, not the status of its administrators. When was the last time the University of California received a Nobel Prize for administration? As you've heard, since 1992, UC management has grown by a staggering 283%. Is such astounding growth necessary? Students demand accountability and transparency from this administration. The Office of the President rationalized its recent decision that faculty should not take furloughs on days of instruction by saying that our paramount mission in the UC is teaching. Students, you were promised a degree at a research university, not a teaching college. Demand to receive the education that you have paid for. The University of California also prepares you for your futures by being public. To a degree unmatched by any other state in the 20th century, California embraced public higher education as a tool of socioeconomic engineering, says historian John Aubrey Douglas. The whole purpose of a public university is to conduct our teaching and research for the public good. And by that, I mean contributing to producing new knowledge, promoting service, and social mobility, so that education doesn't just help the rich get richer, it helps the poor and middle class get access to brighter futures. We offer admission to students across a whole economic spectrum. Berkeley has more students on Pell Grants, the federal funding for the most needy college students, than all the Ivy League schools combined. The conversations that happen in our classrooms are qualitatively different, and I would argue far richer and more complex because of this diversity. If our admissions policy shifts from educating for the public good of California to educating only individuals who can afford to pay the full costs of their education, our student body will become more homogeneous, certainly socioeconomically, but also racially, ethnically, and in many other regards. This results in a type of segregation, and segregation is never good.